Alright, this is for you, Chris. I have the model. It's not secured in. I've just super glued some clear plastic sprue. I mean, okay, there's some fogging things around it, but you're not going to see it, doesn't matter. The base I'm going for, you're not supposed to look in the side. It's just made of plastic card. And the photograph, the photographs I've got of the ship for my reference were taken in a big river estuary, the Clyde I think. So I've gone for a sort of brownish green on the bottom, like a kelp, seaweed, stuff like that. So the ship's going to sit there in the bottom. I'm using epoxy today. The dyes I've got came with polyester resin sets. I'm actually not sure if this is going to work. In fact, if it doesn't, you're not going to see the video, so it doesn't matter. And I've got a pot, so I'm going to start with the resin. It's a tester set that I've got. I'm just going to use the whole lot. And I'm going for some blue. 2 drops of that. Excuse me. You can always add more. Harder to take it out. One drop of green. Put the lids back on that to save some cataclysm. And we'll stir that in and see what the colour's like. Don't know if you can see. The dye's mixing into the epoxy quite nicely actually. It's quite a nice turquoise colour, but not much like a Scottish river. Okay, there we go. Right. And the only thing I'm going to do, Chris in particular, is I found a knackered old brush, and just to try and prevent any bubbles on the bottom, I'm going to paint some resin around the bottom of the hull, just to prevent any bubbles getting trapped there. It's okay if I don't come all the way up to the water line. It's better that than painting over it, because obviously when this stuff cures you're stuck with it. is just to avoid any unsightly bubbles, like I said. So around the bilge keels and underneath. Just do this side as well. Right, Chris, once it's poured, I've got my sacrificial brush, and you just have to work along the waterline and try and pick up any little bubbles that you see stuck to the side of the ship and relocate them to the edges. So if you're not doing a complete clear pour with clear sides that you can see through, you can actually get away with quite a bit in terms of bubbles, providing they're at the edges. Because you can just disguise that, because we're going to use some acrylic medium to make some ripples and things on the surface. So that is a good way of hiding sins, but bubbles on the waterline just look terrible. And if you sweep a little bit of water up onto the side of the hull, it's not great, but it's not terrible either. And once it's all cured, you'll notice that, I think, less than a bubble stuck near the ship's waterline. And just make sure you work in about the propellers and the rudder to make sure there's not a big bubble hiding under there either. But don't do anything stupid like break the rudder off. With your brush. Because if you do that at this stage, you're cream crackered. Right, I think that's about it. It just needs 24 hours now to cure. There's not a lot we can do with it. I certainly don't want to interfere, so we'll just leave that alone.